Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the PGA Championship. This is my value play show, which really just ultimately means I'm going to go over everything you need to know before the lock that I know. And hopefully that's going to help you flush out those lineups before you get them in and also help you on the betting side. Should be able to get through this about 20-30 minutes. I'm going to cover ownership projections. I'm going to cover the weather, any updates that I could think of. I'm also going to put, to kind of start this whole thing out, got a clip from Rory's presser that I think just kind of confirms my thoughts on the around the green game, how important that's going to be. So I'm going to start off with that. And then we'll get into all the rest of the analysis of the value plays and who I'm picking and who I'm fading. Okay, let's do this.
It's different. It's a different time of year. I think one of the biggest differences that I've noticed is it's not going to be as easy around the greens as it was last time. Last time in August, it was hot, humid. The paspalum was like really strong and dense and lush. So the ball would just sit right up on top, and it was so easy to just get your lob wedge out, clip it, spin it. So I felt like around the greens last time was a lot easier compared to you sort of a few of the lies this year, a little more bare, a touch linksy in places, especially with the wind and the dry weather. So I don't think it's going to be quite as simple as it was around the greens like last time. And that's, I mean, the one thing I remember about being here the last time is that's what I did so well. I chipped and putted so well that week, and that's what won me the tournament.
Okay, so as you heard, what Rory was kind of stating, that the around the green game is going to be very important and it's going to be a bit different, and so I'm kind of glad to hear that kind of on the right path of the guys that I'm leaning towards. We'll see how that all plays out. But secondly, I had some people asking about this gentleman here, Garrick Higgo. Who is he? And I'm going to give you what information I know. Again, I don't follow the European Tour, is nearly nowhere near as close as I follow the PGA Tour. But, he's been winning, had a really nice run at the Canary Islands, kind of swing is what they call it. And little information, he played at UNLV, so he's a running rebel. He's a lefty, so a little bit like Bobby McIntyre, who you've seen at the Masters. He's recently had 2 wins, very close, again, as I mentioned, on the Canary Island swing. And the guy's been tearing it up. From everything I can see, he can hit the ball off the tee, averaging around 310. I watched some of the tournaments that he played. He's getting it out there 330, 340. His accuracy would be probably the one thing. But when I saw, again, you got to remember, if he's just in the first cut or just a little bit over to the rough, which is quite a few drives I saw when he would miss the fairway. So not like he's bombing it 40, 50 yards offline like hence a Phil Mickelson would do at times. But you can see here, if you look at his stats, that's the one area that might be a little weaker, 116. Everything else, though, the guy's got a good putter, he's got a good short game. If you want to look at the pros on why you would want to roster this guy, and I believe I should have put his price, I believe it's 6,500, 6,600, somewhere around there. The positives why you want to play him is the guy does have the length. He has had success on oceanside courses. So these 2 Canary Island courses that you see here that he had wins, both bumped up to ocean or seas. I don't know specifically what the body of water was, but it was a very large, and there was winds. But definitely easier track than what of course they're going to be playing here at Kiowa. If you flip that, the only negatives would be, from everything, he's young, he's 21. As far as I can see, he's never played in a major event like a US Open, a WGC, so, and also right now over in Europe, from everything that I've seen, they still have no fans whatsoever. I mean, they might have maybe their mom, dad, something like that, but, even at like a smaller capacity of 25,000 fans or something like that, he's never played in something like this. So I don't know how the nerves will hold up. I guess the short of it is, I'm actually going to play him in a showdown perspective. The guy has had just fire on his first rounds. And you see here 66, 63, 65. You can see his last 4 events, out of hand. Just 2 wins, a T8, a T4, and then back at the Kenya, he had a T110. He's also been on the European Tour and the Sunshine Tour for the last couple of years. As I mentioned, young kid. But yeah, exciting golfer, someone that, wouldn't shock me. We're going to see a lot more of here in the WGC events, probably at the US Open. Any guy that's on the European side had to do very well to be, to make it to this PGA. So just wanted to bring that out. Some people are asking questions about him. That's what I know. Can bomb it out the tee. Maybe not super accurate all the times, but pretty accurate. And then you can kind of see his stats here. And again, you can go look up this stuff I know on your own. But I just, while I was here, pulled together for you. And anytime there's a European guy that we don't know a lot about, but been hearing more and more about this Garrick Higgo because of his wins, I just wanted to get it out there in front of you. Okay, and then also there's, I did the Texas connection kind of last week. Of course, there's this Island Mafia. So in South Carolina, there's a lot of players. Of course, Davis Love was kind of known as one of the first. And then a lot of guys have ended up living there. And I'm only focusing on the guys that are actually in this tournament. There's guys that I'll mention that are not in this tournament that do live here. But the main guys that you might want to think about rostering, of course, the first one, who was one of my top 15 picks, Brian Harman, lives in the area. Of course, you got two fronts right here. You got guys that are used to playing. Pops will be on this course a bit, but at least on the other courses around there. So dealing with these kind of wins. Also, you've got, the hometown or the home cooking and your own bed. I mentioned that. That's a plus. What is that going to do? Hard to quantify that, right? But you could probably imagine if you've ever played sports and had to travel and stay in hotels versus staying in your own bed. There's definitely the sleep factor and the comfort factor. So anyways, Brian Harmon's one. You got Matt Kuchar, who has been, and actually I'm going to talk to him or look at his analysis, not talk to him. We're going to look at Matt Kuchar, look at some of his analysis when I get into the value play stuff. He's also a local, of course, born and raised in Georgia, played at Georgia Tech. You got Killer Keith, who is in the field. He's a local native guy at the Sea Island. You got JT Poston. And then you got Harris English, and I'm going to talk about a couple of these guys in a little deeper. Harris is, of course, won the Tournament of Champions, and then his game kind of just went south, but starting to make a little bit of a resurgence. Same with, Matt Kuchar, right? He had a great showing at the Dell Match Play, and then has had like a T17, a T18, so his game's starting to come back into form. Of course, he's got very accurate off the tee, not very long, but can hit the long, hybrids, irons, pretty accurately, and also great around the greens and can get very hot with a putter. A couple guys that are not on here, Zach Johnson, who is in the tournament, also resides in Sea Island. I didn't put Zach on here, and I don't think I'm going to talk to him about value plays. Great around the green, I'm not sure where his game's at, and if he can, manage, but who knows? It could be a decent value play. And then you got Hudson Swafford, which, you can make the arguments. He won, I believe it was the Corrales. In the 2020 season, then had a sixth place finish this year. So funny enough, if you look at Hudson Swafford's kind of just history over the last 6-7 months, whatever it's been, his actually only two good showings, a win and a sixth place, was at Corrales. Past Palom, a longer course, and also ocean. So you can make some arguments there. Okay, let's go jump into some analysis, and then I'll summarize my value plays. I'm also going to do, let's do ownership projections first. So again, if I don't do it, I could forget about it, and then we'll go into the analysis. All right. Okay, so jumping over to Fantasy National. Again, a lot of areas I do my research. Highly recommend it if you guys ever start to want to do your own. And what you're going to see here is we're going to want to look at this number on the far right. This is right now the projected ownership from Fantasy National. This is not, 100%, but it's typically pretty close, maybe within a point or two. If you see these guys highlighted, not all of them, but I'm going to call out the guys that I'm fading. This is how I'm going to do my fades from now on instead of, having to put it into a screenshot. I just talk through them real quick. But yeah, you can see over here ownership in the top guys right now. The highest owned, funny enough, is George Spieth, who I'm on. Your next would be John Rahm. And, well, I take that back. Justin Thomas and John Rahm by 0.4%. The guys that I'm fading at the top, DJ and Rahm. DJ just, haven't seen anything since the Masters. Talked about this 1,000 times. Don't know where his head's at. He could come out and just be amazing, But in the lineups that I have constructed from a DFS play, and even like some showdowns I've done, betting, I don't have DJ in any of it. And that could come back to haunt me. But you got to take a stance. You got to go with, the feeling that if you're going to build, unless you're building 150 lineups. then you can kind of just cover all bases to some degree. John Rahm, again, putter just is it. He actually in his presser talked about after he had the baby, that maybe, of course, some of his time was not spent working on his game like usual. I think he said he maybe was getting back to that more, but, you can understand that. But the putter, as I stated, has been a bit shaky for a while. So, again, I'm not blaming the baby thing on that. We look down. You got Xander, again, one of my guys at 19% that I'm looking at. You got Victor Hovland, who right now looks like the highest owned at almost 23%. Just seeing the guys that are most high. Daniel Berger at 19%. Guess Sunjay M. Oh, sorry, I was looking at this. No, nothing to worry about there. Abraham Answer, another one of my picks. Paul Casey, another one of my picks. So I thought I was going to be so unique, and it looks like I am not that unique, which is a little disappointing. Like I said, when I was doing my picks, I didn't look at ownership projections. I was just going with the guys' games that I wanted. Keegan Bradley, also another one of my picks, is at almost 15%. Siwoo Kim is at 10.4%. Which I'm going to talk about him from a value play. I think he's a good play. And you see these guys, that's some of the guys I'm interested in. Kokrak is up there again. Guy that I'm looking at a value play. Stuart Sink, Charles Schwartzel. Nobody likes John Cantlin because of his showing, I guess, at the AT&T. I think Bezaden Hoot, we're going to talk about him. I think he could be an interesting play down there to get a little difference of leverage. Steve Stricker, we're going to look at him. I think he could be interesting too. Just won on the Champions Tour here very recently. Just seeing if anybody else down here is kind of popping up at a high percent. Nope. And pretty much you could take, like I said, the bottom 20, 25 guys. The odds that they're going to do anything right at the Club Pros. Someone actually asked me, and I need to respond to them, about a certain Club Pro that's in this that, I don't know, did okay at Harding Park or whatever, and he played. I don't know if he made the cut. I don't think so. So I'll just tell you right off the bat, I know nothing about the Club Pros. I don't, would have no more access to information than you guys would on that. So sorry, I will have nothing I could lend on that. Okay, I think that's enough on the ownership projection. Let's go jump into some analysis and start right out. I've actually got some guys that are my top 15 that are even cheaper. I think like 7,000. So, but typically I start my value plays somewhere around 75, 7,400. When I say value plays, I mean value plays. I'm always perplexed how some the golf analysts out there will be like, oh, here's a sleeper of mine or a dark horse or a value play. And they're like 8, 9K. And it's, someone is, like Abraham Answer. That's my value play. Like, okay. Great job. Well done. The guys that I'm giving are guys that, they're going to have a little in this field, going to have a little bit of, possibility to miss the cut, of course, a little more volatility. But we're getting major pricing, right? I mean, to get Siwoo Kim, in some tournaments, he was, 8, 9,000, Harris English in his heyday, 5 months ago was up there, Kokrak. Of course, it's all depending. But again, what we're looking at here, just so you know, this is 12 rounds of data. What does that mean? That means the last 12 rounds of golf they played. That could be 3 tournaments. That could be 4 tournaments. Depends if they missed a cut or not. Again, what I am looking at and everything that's been backed by what I've been hearing, what I've seen, my own due diligence, knowing Pete Dye courses, everything, around the green, I think is going to be the ultimate key stat category. I think scrambling is going to be huge. And again, this is going with the wind. This is going with that even though there's generous fairways, but these green complexes, a bit like TPC Sawgrass, they're kind of zoned where if you hit it on the wrong side, and if you hit it, there's a lot of runoff area, and it's firm and fast. I'm not saying it's crazy firm and fast, but firm and faster than the last time they played here. Again, stated by Rory, is some of the guys that have been talking to some of the pressers. So it's going to be hard to keep it on these greens. And you're going to be doing quite a bit of chipping. And so that's going to be the number one. Of course, you got to hit in the fairway. Of course, you got to be good on approach. And so you're going to notice the guys that I'm looking at over the past 12 rounds have been doing those things very well. Of course, if you look at Siwoo, he's, just had a lot of success at Pete Dye courses. Of course, the Players, again, he's won there. He had a T9. Even at he won what the American Express, I believe. Let me just go pull that up again. I'm almost 100% sure. Yeah, so the American Express, which is a Pete Dye course, the Nicholas, tournament course. So again, more success on that side, and 12th at the Masters. He's had a pretty good showing. I mean, you can look at this. Of course, he didn't do as well at the recent Byron Nelson, which you look at that however you want, but I think he's a good player. 7,200. Guy gets points. He's typically a streaky. I think I mentioned him for a first round leader. Definitely a possibility. I like that bet. You got Harris English, who's been, you can see trending up 26th at the API, 21st at the Masters. Had a cut at RBC, which, it is what it is. Wells Fargo and AT&T. So, another good showing. I think he actually had let me check on Harris. I know he had a crazy, I don't know if it was a Saturday round he shot, like a 65 or a 66. Let's go look at that just for my own knowledge and for now your guys'. Okay, so let's pull up Mr. English. Yeah, so Saturday he shot a 63, so man, he went low. Easy course, good conditions, but it's just good that he's seeing that, that brings confidence, right? It brings confidence. He's had to be making a ton of putts. So, Harris, again, local guy. I don't know with those Sea Island Mafia guys, how much they played this course, but I guess they played it a bit more than probably the average person that's going to be here, the average PGA player. Kokrak, he's been, once he kind of found a putter, he's been hot. Now, you had this crazy kind of, run here with a bunch of 10th, better than 10th place finishes. Not the greatest showing at the Masters, but a good showing at the Valspar. You can see he can handle the par fives. He's making his hay where he needs. That's the other thing I didn't mention. If you didn't watch my pick show, the second piece of information, you could look at the par threes. I think is another key area that they need to be able to manage and handle. Of course, there's a ton of the long par fours, but I went with the par fives for this just so you could see if they're going to make birdies or have a possibility at a birdie or even somehow an eagle. This is the areas they're going to be able to do it is on the par fives. So that was why I wanted to see how they were doing. Of course, we want them, green and if possible trending up. But Kokrak, can handle himself around the green, good on scrambling. Since he went to a longer putter, been doing amazing on the putting side. That was always his Achilles heel and a great ball striker. So, all good things there. Matt Jones had that great showing at the Honda. It was crazy windy. Right, he's an Australian, so I've talked about these guys. They grew up playing in the wind. So how could you not, think about Matt Jones? Now again, the wind conditions, and we're going to talk about weather. It isn't going to be crazy, but it's going to be enough to mess with these guys. And so we'll get into that when I talk about weather. But he's great around the green. I mean, fourth ranked out of this whole field. Scrambling, great putting. Just the driver can get him in a little bit of little hiccup, but pretty good ball striker, and he's in pretty good form. Handled himself at Quail Hollow, tough course. Handled himself at Augusta, tough course. The Honda, it was crazy. Some crazy wind out there, and shot that. What was it, a 65? I think. Let's go take a look at that. Because like I said, all these things, but I know he had a crazy opening round. Let's see, what day was that on? Yeah, I was taking that back. He shot a 61. I mean, the next probably was the 64 that was even close to that. Ridiculous. And I think he won. I mean, yeah, I think he won that wire to wire. I don't think anybody ever even came back into the hunt. So, see here. Chris Kirk, just put him up there, can handle the par fives, at least making some hay on the par fives. You can see, he's a little better maybe in these areas off the drive, the ball striking, but still in the yellow, so better than, medium, we'll say, in this field. And, had a seventh at RBC, another Pete Dye course. Harbor Town, you got Valero, Texas, he had a T6. Good at the Honda. I think if you have a 25th or better, that's a good showing at the Honda. A lot of the big names missed the cut, the players, he made the cut. Now, he had this miscut just recently at Valspar, but I'm not worried about that. I think it's a good play. The guy's just solid tee to green. You got Griot, right? Elite off tee, elite long iron player. You can see he's been losing a little bit comparative to where he was at on the par four. So on the par fives, gaining the strokes that we'd like to see. But for 7,000, I think he's a great play here. And you can see everything here. He can handle himself around the green, scrambling. Putting is typically his Achilles heel, as he ends up at the up in the leaderboard like RBC and Corrales. That's when the putter was really performing and gaining strokes with it. When he doesn't gain strokes with it, he gets frustrated. He can get very animated and frustrated, a little bit like a Hatton or a Rahm. That can affect his game, where he can go what we call full Keegan, just go out and shoot, maybe 4 or 5 under on the front nine, and then could shoot 6 over on the back if things start not going his way. But you can see on my model rank for what I've been looking for, you can see where these guys are fitting in at this price tag. Matt Kuchar, as I mentioned, another Sea Island guy, and I talked a bit about him, but you can just see here, of course, where the first time we kind of saw Matt, and I thought it might just have been a one-off, and that was, match play, where he does pretty well in a match play event, right? Played a bit of the Ryder Cups. But he was talking about that he started to work, with his swing coach more, kind of found some things. And you can see it's resulted again, this is looking at the last 12 rounds. He's starting to produce. He's, making his birdies on the par 5, right? He had a good showing at the 18, I believe on Sunday. Because he shot under every day, and I think he shot 1 over. Let's pull up Kuchar. I just want to remember. So what was he, 17th? Where's Kuchar? So yeah, 67, 66. So on the days, you can make a little argument here. The days that was nice weather, he did well. And then, it was just a tough day with the rain, the wind. But, shot 1 over on the last day. So anyways, but been playing good golf. Kuchar used to be what we used to call the free bingo spot. Whenever you're trying to figure out a guy that you wanted to put in just to know that you're going to get to the weekend, man, it used to be Kuchar. But, of course, that hasn't been that case for a while. But lately, the Valero, the miscut at the Masters, but RBC, the AT&T, it was a little longer course, but, a lot simpler than what they're going to. Anyways, that's enough about Kuch. Pulled up Kevin Na just because he is elite in this area. I'm not a Kevin Na guy. I can never figure him out. He's a little bit like another guy I'll talk about, HV3, Harold Varner. If I pick him, he'll withdraw or just, lose it on the par 3, 17 at the Players and just, withdraw. Literally, that's all that was. It just pissed off and left. But I got to bring him up if I think he could have some fit and does the things I'm looking for. So you can see his ownership pretty low. So if you want to get a little unique, you can look at Kevin Na. And also, again, this isn't going to be a tournament where you're going to have a bunch of birdies, right? And, but he's a guy from a Showdown perspective that can sometimes, boom for one day. Stuart Sink, just been solid. I had to put him on here, 6,900. You guys know what he's been doing. He's got a couple wins this year. Just the only guy with 2 wins except for DeChambeau, which, again, I can't believe I say that. But, has had a great showing here, held up at the Masters, Honda, tough courses, missed a cut the Players, at a T37 at Wells Fargo. Actually came out, I think, the first couple of days. I think he was one of my top 15 picks, if I remember correctly. I think he was my last guy in. And actually had a pretty good show in the first couple of days and then kind of fell apart on the weekend. But does everything you want on this course, Typically keeps it in play, good putter, good ball striker, especially from those longer distance. Around the green, you could say would be his, right now his least out of all this, which is an important stat. But everything else looks really good. So, you got to make your call on that. I put Tom Peters in here more for you guys just to see the analysis. Of course, he's had some, good finishes, but a lot of that has been, and then I talked about him, of course, for the AT&T. I wasn't picking Tom Peters. I kind of felt like his stats were a bit inflated because of some of the fields and some of the tournaments he's been playing in. A lot like a T. Hatton or Rahm. This guy, I've watched him where if things are going right, he can do well. If things start to not go so good, it seems like it gets into his mind, gets into his game. So that's another guy. And, of course, you can see the big issue is the putter. But everything else pretty solid. So, something that you can consider. There's Zach Johnson. I just had him up here just so you could see, pretty solid in this area around the green, scrambling. His driver is not long, and it can get a bit crooked. And his ball striking is where he's been struggling. And you can see not really making any hay on a par 5. So that's the main reason why Zach is probably not a guy that I would look to. Charles Schwartzel, been putting better. His whole game has been better. You can see from his results, his ownership, is probably showing a little bit of that too. You can see he's starting to make some hay on the par 5s. But yeah, made the cut all the last. Best showing was recently here with that T3. So feeling the mojo could be someone definitely to think about. Put Bezainhood in here because I feel like he was a little bit forgotten. Um, showed up at the Arnold Palmer, which, Florida Swing, tough track at Bay Hill, had a seventh. Showed up at, a bit at the WGC concession, not in Mexico, but technically would be the Mexico. The Workday was what it ended up being sponsored by. But yeah, handled himself at the Masters. Um, if I recall, at the WGC match play, I think he made it out of his group, I believe. A lot of it was because of this. So you can see the drives and the ball striking. But just someone I wanted to point out. You got Thomas Detry, of course, another European guy, just showing you some stats that you can see. Again, some of these, of course, played a couple Corrales, has played at the WGC, has played in the Open, and even with, I didn't mention that, I do want to state Tom Peters at the U.S. Open, that DeChambeau won, of course. I think he was, I don't know if he was up he was in the top of the lead, I think Thursday or Friday, and then just started to fall apart. But it ended up with a T23. So I just wanted to say that because I kind of downplayed a bit of his play, but did have a good showing at some majors, as you can see in the past. So again, just want to point that out. Anyways, Thomas Detry, low ownership down at 6,600. I just want you guys to see the information here. Again, you got to remember, you can look at this both ways. Past Palom, but easier field, easier course, but some similarities. Ocean course, and, has handled himself pretty well. Did good at concession also, which, had a bit of water out there. You had to hit fairways. There was some low country area, some marshy area at that course at concession. So, someone to think about. And also, he's making hay. So if you're down in this range, I take a look at him. Alex Noren, again, has been doing these things very well that I like. Can get a little wayward with that drive, right? You see that he's always got to really make sure that he keeps that fade. So it does that pronounced kind of practice swing to make sure he's coming across the ball. But, you can see last four events, it's done pretty well. And so someone to look at also, again, you can look at, he's making some hay. Not really my cup of tea, Alex Noren, but is someone you could think of. I put Harold Varner on here because I was shocked, to be honest. I never, ever think of Harold Varner good at putting, good around the green. I think of him as a good driver. I put him almost like in the Corey Connors bucket where, pretty elite tee to green and can hit some ball with some distance. But this shocked me over his last 12 events. And you've got two cuts in here, but you got the RBC and you got the Honda. He did well. Not doing what we want to see. I mean, Harold Varner should be making hay on par fives with his length and his approach. But I'm guessing this is a bit of the putter. But yeah, shocking enough. Just so you could see it, he over the last 12 rounds is doing the things that I like. So it's someone that you could think about. And HV3, I've already told you, he's my kryptonite. I cannot get him right. So he is not going to be one of my top value plays, but I wanted to bring the information to you guys. Steve Stricker actually, I think could be, if you're down in this area, I think I would call it more of a condom play. Had a good showing at the Waste Management, had a good showing at Honda, API. He just won recently. And I might be wrong on this, but I think it was his inaugural first senior Champions Tour event and won it. And there's some talent on there. Don't get me wrong, right? I mean, I'm not saying that's comparable. I'm just saying that he's playing well, and could be someone. I'll just cut to the chase. I actually have him one of my Showdown teams for Thursday, just as a I think a guy that could kind of shock things up a little bit. Then the last guy's a European guy, Aaron Ray. We've seen him, he played over, the last time we would have seen him is at the WGC Workday at concession. He had a T18. But these are tournaments that were, a while ago, and we'll go look at them just so you can see what that is. But, again, if they're European and they're here, they've been playing well, even Bobby Mack. And I didn't have Bobby Mack up here, but somebody else that you could look at, does the T degree thing, and he's also played, of course, at the Masters, had a good showing. But Aaron Ray was just someone else that fit this kind of area, low owned, low cost. And let me go click on him so you can see some things. So Bermuda, and again, Pass Palm is the closest out of POA, Bent. Out of the three surfaces I can show you, Bermuda is the cousin of Pass Palm. So at least you can see that. Moderate winds he's played in that we have some information on has done all right, gained a stroke and a half, which again, the European guys typically should be able to handle themselves. And I just want to show you the dates on those events so you could see. So, of course, the most recent was the one I mentioned, the Workday. 2019, the WGC St. Jude, he had a 12th. Actually, over at the Chapultepec, the actual courses that you typically played at WGC Mexico, tough track, long track, tight track, a lot of trees. He had a 51st and then, the last. So that's the four stroke gain analysis events that I have for Aaron Ray. I was going to pull up his stats. You can go on European Tour if you are interested and go look at his statistics for the last 2 years from a driving distance. If I remember correctly, he drives it around 300, so you can get the ball out there. He's a little more wayward than Higgo that I showed. I think he's 44% driving accuracy. But the rest of his stats were kind of It looked like his putter out of everything, and I guess let's see here. We only got 4 events, so it's showing that he's gaining, and that's kind of odd. Literally, this is like one event that is pulling from, so don't make him a lot out of that. But yeah, his putter looks like could be his Achilles heel. But funny enough, it's showing here, but that's taken this information, so this is kind of maybe a little skewed, but somebody to think about. Okay, while we're here, let's talk weather, and we're going to look at the course real quick. Okay, so let's talk about weather, and I want to bring this up. I'm going to dive into each day's weather, but I wanted to show this. This is an east wind blowing, and what you're looking at here is probably they're both very exposed, but even maybe more exposed. This is showing the back 9, the toughest 9, starting on 10. This is the front 9 over here, and we can go look at this a little more specific. That's why I pulled this up for you guys. I know we've already done a course overview, but I just wanted to talk very briefly because you're going to hear a lot of talk about, the east wind that these guys are going to play the first 3 days, and then the last day is going to shift on them. This is the front 9, as mentioned, and a little bit of easier track, and you can see a lot of the holes the wind's playing with. You got 6, 7, 8, 9s going in. First 4 you're going against, but what I'm getting to is that the first few holes are the easiest holes they're going to play. And then when they get to the back, the toughest finishing, where this tournament could be won or lost, is when they start on 14. So you can see when they start on 10, they're working their way with the win, and this is for the first 3 days. And then it's going to change in a way they go into it. And the hardest hole that everybody keeps talking about is this par 3 17th. It's 230 carry, pure carry over water. I think Schauffele mentioned he's got a 2-iron in the bag. He hit 2 shots on this hole in this practice round. First shot was in the water. I think he left it over in the right, he said. Second shot was in 2 feet of the cup, 2 feet of the pin. So long story short, I just wanted you guys to get an understanding that what I'm kind of thinking, if you go look at tee times, if you're doing Showdown, what I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and load up on the guys that are teeing off on number 10 in the morning. Let them get this done while the winds are calmer. And this is my own narrative, my own thought strategy, if you want to say. And then let them get to the easier side is the way I'm going to play the Showdown stuff. If you're thinking about even how you want to build some lineups, you can look at who's got the early, late start and they're starting on 10. But yeah, is there going to be some advantage there? Maybe, maybe not. But I'm just thinking in my own perspective that if from a Showdown one-day event, I'm going to go with the guys starting on 10 in the early morning, and they should have a little bit of advantage if they can get through this track with calmer winds than, of course, when they get in the back. Okay, that was all I was going to show you there. All right, let me pull up the forecast here. And of course, you guys can go do this. Go to windfinder.com. You go on and look at this is the closest point. It's literally a couple miles from the course. Surf Song, Kiowa Island. And let's see if we can get rid of the advertisement. So we have to look at that. And let's see if I can make this a little bigger. There we go. Okay, so what we're going to want to focus on is Thursday. Here's that east wind moving here, moving from east to west. And, you can see the morning, maybe a little break, nothing amazing. But, that's probably the best weather that it looks like they're going to have is Thursday. Then you can see Friday right now. Again, I'm recording this Wednesday around 1 o'clock. It's still going to have that same kind of direction, but you can see the winds are really going to pick up as, noon, the afternoon comes around. Then Saturday looks, pretty benign, pretty much same as what we just saw here on Thursday. But same pretty much wind direction is what they're stating. And then you can see Sunday comes and the wind shifts, and now it's going west to east. So a completely different wind. The only thing I could bring out of this, too, is that listen to Morikawa's presser. He got out in April and got to play this course, and he might be one of the only guys that got to practice at least the back with this kind of wind direction, because they're not going to see this wind direction until Sunday, and it's going to mess with them a little bit. And you can see there's no break starting your guys 8 a.m. It actually looks like, for whatever reason, the morning is going to be the worst of the wind. Now, maybe that works out. Maybe that's a helping advantage, right? If we go back to this map, what has been known as the toughest stretch on here, 14 to 18, technically you are going to have the wind helping you. So there's another, mess with your mind thought is maybe that's another strategy for Showdown, that you get the guys in the morning that are playing the back and see if that does give them advantage. Now, of course, 10, 11, 12, 13, you're going to struggle and you're going into it, but could be a huge advantage going down here if you've got 20-mile winds, the fan blowing with you. So, okay, I think that's enough about weather. Of course, if you're doing, just keep checking, use Wind Finder. It's the best thing out there from a free perspective that I think that you can use. All right, I think that covers everything. I think we can jump back in and summarize my value plays. Okay, so to wrap this up, my first value play is going to be Harris English. As mentioned, local guy. When I ran the model for him also for the last 12 rounds, he gained the most strokes in the wind. He also, remember, won the Tournament of Champions, which was at the Plantation course, which is a par 73, funny enough, but it is an ocean course. It's Bermuda, but very close to a Paspalum. So a lot of reasons why you might, and he's also been showing better form. So I like Harris English. Of course, Siwoo, Pete Dye course. How can you not go with great ball striker? Just hopefully the putter holds up. Jason Kokrak, again, been in great form. He's got the distance. Pretty good short game, and the putter's been working. So hopefully that stays. You got Matt Jones, the Australian, who shot the 61 as mentioned at the Honda. The guy can handle himself in the wind. Good short game. I think he's a great value play. And last but not least, you know what? I'm going to go with him. I'm going to go with the Cooch. Local guy too. Why not? Been great game, great short game. He'll keep it in play, and he's got a really nice long game. So that 200 plus. So that is it. That is my value plays. I covered my fades when we went through it. And again, of course, the typicals, Phil Mickelson, Ricky. I'm fading Koepka. I'm fading DJ. I'm fading Rahm. I think that's the main guys, Jason Day, of course, all those guys that, that are struggling mostly with the short game. And that's about it. All right. If you like what I'm doing, again, I appreciate it if you click the like button and share it with anybody else. The subscribe base, we're getting really close to 500, guys. Need you to help me push that over. If you're watching this and you like how I do what I do, mean the world to me. Make my weekend if you click that subscribe button. And if I can help you, getting more and more questions. I'm trying to answer those if I can. Hit me up on YouTube comments. I'll give you my input if I have it. If I don't, I'll tell you straight up, don't know. And then also you can follow me on Twitter. Typically my new shows come out there, which if you're a subscriber, you're going to get notified anyways. But, if I see a withdrawal or I see something that catches my eye, I will tweet it out to try to help you guys, if something's going to shake up. All right, best of luck to us. If something else does come up, just keep an eye, like I said, on YouTube. I'll put it on there or I'll tweet it. But I think we've got our plan and we'll see how it goes. It should be a great tournament to watch. Oh, the last on that note, I mentioned ESPN Plus is showing coverage. I mean, you can find us out too, but I just so you can start watching golf at 7 o'clock. You just have to sign up for a month of access. I've done that before, but I think ESPN, regular ESPN, is going to cover it at 11 o'clock, and then you're going to be getting CBS on the weekend. But it's an ESPN kind of coverage thing, so that's where you get to watch it. All right, best of luck to everybody, and talk to you guys on Monday to hopefully with some exciting news. All right, take care, guys.